So we're trying to lead the world in that, actually. And we believe it creates a fair playing field. If everybody would perform and act in an ethical manner when it comes to bidding and executing the projects, it would create a more fair playing field. Employees in the workplace, we're a service company, right? It's all about our people. We can't perform without the people. So our people are one of our is our asset. We don't own facilities. The people are our asset. So they're very important to us. I've talked about HSE, or health, safety, and environment. We design facilities that some people don't necessarily like. Okay, so we have to make sure that when we design those facilities and when we construct those facilities, that they're designed and constructed in a way that's good for the environment, that's safe for the people in and around the facility, and that the health is considered during that process. And of course, community and social services, or CSR, is very important. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the things we do here locally. A few industry recognitions. We are recognized by Fortune magazine as Engineering Construction's category World's Most Admired Companies in 2012. I talked about the importance of ethics. Ethisphere magazine, 6 years in a row as one of the world's most ethical companies. Ranked #1 by Engineering News Record. E&R magazine is a list of top 100 design build firms. Aon Hewitt, a list of North American top companies for leaders in 2011. One of America's safest companies by EHS Today. One of GI Jobs' top 50 most military-friendly employers for 6 years in a row. And we were honored for the 6th consecutive year as a global most admired knowledge enterprise by Telios. So one of the things that our employees would tell you that we have that's really a great system is our knowledge online. And we talk about having a local face and a global reach. One way we achieve that is, although we have 2,500 or so engineers working here in the Philippines, they have access to the other 40-something thousand people through our knowledge management system. They can post a technical problem out on our knowledge management system that evening, and when they come in the morning, somebody has provided that. Some engineer or subject matter expert from any other floor office in the world can see that request for support and provide technical solutions. So you're not just getting the local engineers, you're getting access to the entire company when you partner with Fluor. And so it's a very robust system, and it's been run awards the last 6 years in a row as one of the best knowledge management systems, in particular in our industry. All right, let's get a little more specific to Asia and the Philippines. So we have 2 offices now here in the Philippines. We did recently open one in Cebu. We're about 250 people there. It does do engineering and design in that office, but we do anticipate much of the growth next year to be from our outsourcing services as we transition more of our IT and HR and finance functions and even some procurement functions to the Cebu office. Very happy. We've been talking since 2004 about going there, and then we were real close to doing it, and the financial crisis hit, and we had to put everything on hold. So in 2011, we were able to push forward with those plans. And a lot of people ask me why Cebu, because we looked at the entire region, where to go next, where to open another office, and for what we were looking for and what we were looking to do, Cebu made the most sense. The Philippines makes a lot of sense for us because we've been here a long time. We're very comfortable here. It's very good English speaking, good talent pool, cost competitive. And I'll talk a little bit more about those things, but those are some of the reasons we chose Cebu, and we're very happy. That office within a year's time is 250 people and far exceeded our management's expectations. We have 14 offices in Asia, and you can see the locations there. We're in Thailand, Beijing, China, Brisbane, Australia, Cebu, Jakarta, Indonesia, KL, Manila, Melbourne, New Delhi, India, Perth, Australia, Seoul, Korea, or South Korea, and Shanghai, Singapore, and Tokyo. A little bit more on the breakdown of our resources in the region. You can see from this that the Philippines is our largest operation, and not only in Asia, but it's our 3rd largest globally. The only other offices that are bigger than here are in Houston, Texas, which is about 2,500 people, and in Greenville, South Carolina. I mentioned that EcoFloor was about 2,500, but that's a joint venture. It's not a wholly owned operation, whereas these others I'm talking about are sole floor offices. So you can see the distribution. We do have about 1,300 people in New Delhi, about 800 and so in China. A lot of China, about 250 of those people do global sourcing. They procure material for our projects all over the world. The Oakland Bay Bridge, all of that steel came from China. Fluor Philippines. So we were established in 1987. We started out as a joint venture with a local company that does fabrication called AG&P. I'm sure everybody here is pretty familiar with AG&P. So we started out as a joint venture. And we enter a lot of countries as joint ventures, or partnerships. We believe that's a good strategy for entering countries. You take advantage of the local knowledge and expertise that the local company has to get familiar and position yourself. And we mutually agreed 4 years into that to kind of go focus on our own core businesses. And we, at the time, computers were getting more and technology was advancing, and we saw an opportunity to do more distributed execution and move engineering around the world. So we decided to focus more on that, and AG&P wanted to focus more on fabrication. So we mutually agreed to go separate ways. Fluor bought out the shares of the joint venture, and we were in the Pacific Star building for many years in Makati. And then in 1998, we moved out to Alabang to the Asian Star building, and we were actually the construction manager on the Asian Star building. So we built that building. We own 40% of the building, and we occupy about 65 to 70% of the building, and we share the building with Shell Philippines Exploration Specs. We have 2 offices. I've already talked about that. Our main office here is in Alabang, so if you haven't seen me before, even though I've been here 6 years, is I don't get to Makati that often. Alabang pretty much has all that my family and I need, although I do get down here probably 3 or 4 times a month if the right opportunity comes up, certainly for the good restaurants that are down here in Makati. Again, I mentioned 25 years. 98% of our workforce has college degrees. So we're hiring highly educated and skilled people. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Also, we are ISO 9001 certified, we're ISO 14001, and we're OSHA's 18001 certified. So project execution capabilities, this is for the Philippines. Now you saw the big services slide. I gave you all the things we do, and I didn't go through all of that, but I think it's important that you know that here in the Philippines, this is not just a back office drafting center, okay? We made the decision about 3 years ago that this would be a full service execution office. Last January, we went to a regional organization, so profit and loss in our company is rolled up by region now. Okay, so Asia Pacific region is responsible for its own success. Used to be we were organized by business lines, and the business lines all resided in Houston. And for me, it's been great because the number of late night phone calls that I had to have with Houston have went way down, because now we can make decisions in the region quicker and fast and on our own, whereas before I had to stay up till midnight to get approval from somebody in Houston to bid a job in Malaysia, which was absolutely, and they didn't know anything about it. So this move for us, we believe, has been very, very strategic and very, very important, and has helped drive the growth of our operations in Asia, because the Asia market for us is one of our biggest growth markets that we see in the near future. So the regional organization has given me more responsibility. I have profit and loss responsibility now for our business in the Philippines, Malaysia, and Singapore. And I can make more decisions here locally on the ground. But we do all phases of the work. We do conceptual feasibility studies, we do front-end engineering and design, we do detailed engineering design. Now, the strength of the office, I would still say, is in detailed engineering and design, but we do it all, and we have projects where we can demonstrate that to you. HSE, we have people in-house that can do HAZOPs and HAZIDs and other specialized reviews. Project management, project controls, estimating, procurement, material management, contracts, logistics, and site construction management and commissioning and startup. So these are the services, what we consider full service, that we provide out of this operations here in the Philippines. And one of the reasons it's grown so much is because of that decision to make it a full-service office. A lot of the new hiring and growth we did were in these other functions besides just engineering and design. We had to hire a lot of cost engineers and estimators and schedulers and procurement professionals and so forth. So a lot of our growth has happened in those parts of our business. So the next slide just shows you a lot about the growth. As you can see, from 2005 to 2008, we were on a pretty steady growth curve. But then the financial crisis hit globally, and people started to tighten up their wallets and didn't want to do a lot of capital projects and pulled back on their investments. And until that became more liquid, or they began to invest more into projects, because we're a project-based company. Without projects, we can't survive. I mean, that's what we do. Okay, we do projects. And so as that began to open up, and because on a global scale we needed to be more competitive, and we needed to get our costs down, and because we mandated that more of the work had to be done in locations like the Philippines, the growth here was exponential because of that. So we had to become more competitive. We had the regional focus. So if it's in Asia, we'll do it in Asia. No more of this, if it's an Asia project, we do it in Houston, or we do it in Greenville or Southern California. If it's in Asia, we do it in Asia. We lead it 100%. Okay, but we also have the other offices in North America saying, hey, we can't win the work unless we get our rates down. So the blend of their rates and our rates make us more competitive on a global market. So that drove a lot of the growth. So you can see from 2010, we were at 849 people. Then we opened the office in Cebu, and we grew a lot in Alabang, and we were 1,900 people in 2011. In 2012, we reached the 2,248 mark, which we are today. And our projections for next year is to be close to 3,000 people by the end of 2013. And again, you can see a lot of that growth is in Cebu with 500. We're at 250 now. We want to double the size of the Cebu office next year. A little bit, we track project hours very closely. So this also pretty much tracks along with the head count, as you can see the growth. But we will execute 3,350,000 man hours of project hours in the Philippines this year. As was mentioned earlier, this makes us the third largest project execution center in Fluor Corporation, and it's the second largest under our energy and chemicals business line. All right, a little bit, I'm getting close here, so you guys can ask questions shortly. A little bit about our organization, a couple highlights. I'm not going to go through all of this, but a couple things I'm most proud of, other than myself and our technology vice president, K.D. Ganeshan, and a mining operations gentleman that we have by the name of Greg Elliott. Other than those three, everybody's local on the management team. And almost 40% of our management team is female. You have to look at everybody in the boxes here, because we have a manager for all these other functions. But this is the leadership team for our office. So if you look at that, almost 40% of it is female. So we're very proud of that, because if you look at our industry, it's not typically a heavy female percentage. And we've had to, as a company, make an concerted effort to achieve this. And our Philippines office is actually leading the corporation, at least at this level of leadership, having that kind of female leadership. The office as a whole is only 32% female. So the fact that the management team is higher than the office average, I think, is another positive sign. So we do have throughout our company in talent development and our development forums certain KRAs around increasing diversity, and so this is another thing that's driven this. So very proud of this organization. One of the new things that we developed in the last couple of years too is a sales and marketing team, which we used to do a lot of that again in North America. You might be shaking those of you that are in the BPO business or been outsourcing for a long time, you'd wonder, why the heck didn't you move that over here a long time ago? Well, sometimes engineering construction companies can be a little slow, I guess, but we finally got on the ball, and now we've got about 10 people in that, and we're doing proposals and marketing and other corporate brochures and a lot of that work here now in the Philippines. So this is a pretty busy slide, but it gives you the breakdown of our operations. This is both Manila and Cebu here in the Philippines. So we have mechanical engineers, we have civil, structural, architectural engineers, we have structural engineers that specialize in offshore structural engineering, which is somewhat unique. We have piping engineers and designers, people that can do complex stress analysis. We have electrical engineers and designers and control systems engineers. So pretty much every engineering function and graduate that's available, industrial engineers as well, we hire them, train them, develop them, and we have many employees that have been with us for well over 20 years here in the Philippines. You can see that 98% have college degrees of our engineering, and 68% of the office are engineering graduates. We have 32% female in the office. The average age is 33, so it's a pretty young office. I'm sure most of you have the similar. Most of our executives love to come here for the Christmas parties because it's so much energy and enthusiasm, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a lot different than I've worked in our North American offices, and the average age is 52 to 55. Okay, but you may ask, why is that? Because we're a consulting firm. When our clients come to us, they want to see resumes that have 20 to 25 years of a particular experience. So unfortunately, when we go through cycles, we tend to keep the experienced people because that's what we need to win work. We have to put them in on the proposals to win the work. But then you need the other folks to actually get in there and crank it all out, right? And get it done. So this office has been a big part of the one that cranks it all out and gets it done. And the other offices had the people that were the subject matter experts or the high-end, 50-plus years or 25, 30 years of experience. So that's been one reason that this office and on our New Delhi office, the average age is 29. So industry experience, however, has been 10 years. So we do work with the universities and we hire a lot of college graduates, but we made a conscious effort when we went through that big growth spurt to target people with 3+ years of experience, because we knew, again, we couldn't dilute the organization too much with fresh college graduates. So, and the good thing about the Philippines is that there's a large population working overseas in our industry. A lot of them are in the EPC industry in the Middle East, in Singapore, Malaysia now, Australia, Korea. A lot of the Korean EPC companies come in and hire Filipinos and take them there, and they don't want to stay long. They want to get a little money in their pocket and then come home. So we tell our department managers to stay in touch with these folks because they'll be back. And sure enough, we get a lot of them back. When we went through that big growth boom, we got back 57% of the people that we had to let go during the downturn. Okay, and we still get a lot of experienced Filipinos that want to come back and live in the Philippines because they've been overseas for 15 years and they want to come back and be with their families. So that's been a big plus for us, and we have offices in Al-Khobar, we have offices in Abu Dhabi. We know the people, they work for us all around the world, so we have that network. All right, talent development. I wanted to touch on this because, I just said the average age is 33. It is still a young office, and we do work in an industry where I said we're consultants. Our clients hire us because they expect us to know what to do and how to bring the solutions to their projects. So one of the things we've embarked on is getting some of our engineers, not only that have Philippine board registration here locally, but to get some certifications overseas. So we've sent some of our engineers to California to take the PE license in the U.S. and come back here and work here in the Philippines, but they will have passed the exam in the U.S. And we should hear in January on a few of our engineers that have recently taken the exam. So we're very excited about this, and this is going to be a program and an initiative for our office for the next several years until we build up some depth in the numbers of these type of people, as well as RPEQ in Queensland. One of the big projects we're working on right now is for Santos in Queensland. And there's other big projects in Australia, and there's some really strict requirements about having a RPEQ registration. Bringing knowledge back to the office, I talked about that already. That's bringing back people that have gone overseas. Somebody asked me walking around, what's your turnover rate? Or what's your, we do lose people. We have come to the conclusion that we can't stop it. So there's certain things in life you learn to live with. And so we lose about 4 to 5 people a week. Okay, about 13% turnover is what we're trending this year. It has been as high as 18 to 20% turnover. Okay. One of the ways that we manage that is we have very good, strict work processes and procedures that people are trained in extensively before they're loaded on projects. Okay, so everybody worries about, oh, your quality because of turnover or your quality because of the significant growth. I'll be honest, we have not had any big significant quality issues. Is there issues? Occasionally, yes. Every office does. The other offices just don't have to defend themselves like we do. Okay? I mean, quite honestly, there's a perception globally that quality here or quality in India isn't any good. But I've worked in those other offices and they just don't talk about it. They just sweep it under the rug. But there's quality issues, I'll be honest. I mean, I worked on projects here that had major issues. Okay? If you follow the work processes and you follow the procedures and you do what's right, okay, you can still deliver it anywhere in the world. And we're doing it and we're proof of it. We also have a very robust educational assistance program. And we've turned this up a little bit recently because we are encouraging our engineers to get their advanced degrees, either MBAs or get a master's in a particular engineering field, even PhDs. I'll be honest with you, when I look at our numbers in India, for some reason our New Delhi office has a lot more people with graduate degrees. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing or what, but I would like to see more of our engineers here pursue graduate degrees, either in engineering or in master's programs. So we've tried to make sure that our educational assistance program encourages that behavior amongst our engineers.